out of class, and I walked home to, which would have been it was a Friday afternoon, this much I remember, so I walked home to my dad's house, and I was so excited that I had gotten away with my plan. I walk home, walk in the door, and of course my stepmother screams, grabs me, hugs me, and then shakes me, and is like, "Where have you been? What have you been doing?" And I realized at that point that my teacher had tattled on me. Like, it would never have occurred to me that she would even notice I was gone, much less that she would tell on me. So it turns out that she had actually called my mother, who had then called my stepmother, and then everybody was looking for me, and I finally show up at home, one of my two homes, and all was well. And I did, in fact, have to go to the principal's office the next day, and I did not get spanked, but I did have to apologize for taking the box and for leaving school, and I had to promise never to do that again. I do think it's one of the very few times in my life that my stepmother and my mother actually talk to each other. So, when I think back on this story, what impresses me most is that I didn't think I was lost. I was in the woods, I was fine. I knew exactly where I was and I knew exactly what I was doing. So I really kind of felt like I'd found myself. And I also think that it's very interesting that I've grown up to become a professional writer and storyteller, because even at that young age, all I really wanted was a pretty place to put my stories. Thank you.
Thank you, Val. Nice job. Val's got a book for, what's it called?
It's called The Dog Lover's Companion to the Pacific Northwest.
Dog Lover's Companion to the Pacific Northwest. It's on our shelf. She gave me a copy of it. If you've got a dog, you should check it out. Who's next?
Our next teller is Frank.
Frank. Where are you, Frank? Come on up. No, you're not gonna?
No.
Okay, Frank is gonna pass. Okay, maybe next time.
Okay.
All right.
So the next teller is Patrick.
Patrick, come on up. Do you want the mic stand? Do you want the mic stand? Or?
Yes, please. Well, again, my name is Patrick, and I grew up in northern Wisconsin during the Woodstock era, and I loved all the Woodstock rock and roll music. But one kind of music I did not like growing up as a boy was polka music. And if you're from the upper Midwest and my parents' generation, they loved the polka music with the accordion and the tuba going ooba, 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 and the drums and the trumpet. And I had nothing to do with my friends and I with polka music. Well, after graduating from high school, I went to college at Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Now, Milwaukee has a huge German and Polish section of town, but when you're at the college campus, especially Marquette, where it's in the middle of the city, you're kind of isolated, and you're with 11,000 other young people your age, and so polka music did influence me my first 3 years, but it didn't come into play until my senior year. I rented and shared a flat with 3 guys, John from Boston, Jack from Washington, D.C., and Jay the Grabowski from South Milwaukee. Now, if you know the name Grabowski, it is indeed Polish, and his grandparents were the immigrants to America. But his father, we would kind of chide Jay, because his father was a tool and die maker by trade, but his passion was polka music. So much that he was the accordion player and the lead singer for his own polka band. But Jay, like us, wanted nothing to do with polka music. Well, one weekend, Jay's parents invited the four of us over for a Polish meal. So we got into Jack's car, and the four of us traveled to Jay's house into South Milwaukee. And as we pulled up the driveway and got out of the car, we could hear his father from the second story of the house playing his accordion and singing as loud as he could one of his favorite songs. As we approached the front door, I could smell the aroma of this strange food, and it smelled delicious. It was a Polish food. And Mrs. Grabowski welcomed us and told us that the food wasn't ready yet. Jay's father came down with his accordion still strapped to his shoulders and greeted us and escorted us into the living room where the four of us and Jay's dad sat down. But it was really eerie because when he sat down, he still had the accordion strapped to his shoulders. And this accordion was a bright cherry red, and half it was the brass, which shone. And as we were talking, I got a strange feeling about it. We were talking about sports and whatever, and then he said, "You know, guys, I've been working on a new song, and I wonder if you'd like to hear it." And Jay said, "Dad, no. The guys don't want to hear any of the polka music." And he said, "Well, I know you guys prefer this rock and roll Woodstock kind of music, but music is music. Let me play it for you, and you tell me what you think." So he stood up, and with the accordion, he played the accordion and belted out a long sound. And during this time, I was just kind of grabbing the handles of my chair, and I looked over at Jack, and he was in the same posture, and there was Jay, and I looked over at Jay, and he was kind of like, "Oh, I can't believe my father's doing this." He was so embarrassed. And afterwards he said, "Well, guys, what did you think?" And we were put in a very embarrassing situation, and we tried to be positive. So he said, "Well, sir, you know, your baritone voice really projects quite well. Or, you know, your keyboarding skills are really quite profound." We didn't say what we really felt. It was like, "Sir, I'd rather be drenched in honey and tied to an anthill rather than listen to polka music." But then he looked over toward the kitchen, and he says, "Dear, is the food ready yet?" "No?" He said, "Well, guys, why don't you join me in a song I think you already know?" And he got up and started playing the Beer Barrel Polka. "Roll out the barrel, we'll all have a barrel of fun. Roll out the barrel, we've got the blues on the run." And what was I gonna do? I mean, this kind man had invited me into his house, and I was getting a free meal out of it. So like a good little Wisconsin boy, I go, "Sing, boom, tararo, bring out a song of good cheer. Now's the time to roll the barrel, for the gang's all here." And just then I heard from the kitchen, "Supper's ready." I went, "Oh, thank you, Mrs. Grabowski." And we sat down to this wonderful Polish meal of kielbasa, stuffed cabbages, food I had never seen or tasted before, but it was delicious. And Jay's parents are really good, kind, friendly people. Well, that May, we all graduated and we went our separate ways. Jack got a teaching job in Waukesha. John went to graduate school at a university in North Milwaukee. I got a job as a child care worker and moved out to suburban Philadelphia. And Jay was an accounting major. He had passed a CPA, and to save money to put down payment on a house, he moved back in with his parents. Well, and one day his father's accordion needing servicing, and just so happened the repair shop was just about 2 blocks from where Jay worked in downtown. So Jay agreed that he would take his father's accordion and drop it off at the shop. So that morning for work, he loaded it up in the back seat of his car, drove to downtown Milwaukee, parked in an open parking spot maybe about 2 blocks from his building, walked away took the elevator up to the 11th floor office, was looking over his agenda for the day, and said, "Oh, I don't think I locked the door on my car." He ran to the elevators. There's 3 of them. It seemed like it was taking an enormous long period of time. He just made, should I run down the 11 flights of stairs? Finally, one of the doors opened. Got in, punched in the ground floor, but the elevator stopped 3 times. All of a sudden, he's saying, "Oh, don't take that, my father's accordion." And then finally, he got down to the ground floor, dashed out the window, and sprinted as fast as he could the 2 blocks until he got to his car, looked in the back seat, and went, "Oh." The worst thing that could have possibly happened did indeed happen. His father's accordion was still there, but now there were 3 accordions in the back seat. Jay, we have to listen to accordion polka music in surround sound. So, if you ever travel to South Milwaukee, Wisconsin, please lock your car doors. You will never know how many accordions will end up in the back seat.
Oh, that was hilarious. Thank you. Last teller. Mark, come on up. Mark is also a returning teller. Test. Hi, how's everyone doing? So it's July, summertime, and I'm flying into Hokkaido, northern Japan, the northernmost island. Arriving in Sapporo Airport, it's the biggest city there with 2 million people, just bustling, a lot happening. And I'm there for a 4-week intensive language course there. So I'm arriving with not a suitcase, but I'm in the airport with a big cardboard box, just large and bulky up to the baggage allowance by size and weight, really difficult to transport. So what's the reason for this odd choice of baggage selection? Well, the summer before I had done a bicycle ride in Japan. I bought the bicycle there, and basically if you're going for a bike ride, you have to haul all of your things in bicycle panniers, the bags that strap onto the back of a bike, not a suitcase. So that's why I didn't have a suitcase, throw away the box. And that bicycle ride was another story, but one lesson I learned from it is if you're ever going for a long ride or hike or a run, if you clock your distance in kilometers instead of miles, like I did in Japan, it'll be very rewarding and the numbers go quicker. It just feels like very accomplished by the end of it. All right, so Sapporo Airport, there I am, and with my heavy, bulky box and another bag, it's really difficult to move around. I think I could only carry one of them at a time as I'm getting from there to the train station, taking the train to the city center. Oh, and I also stopped for this ramen shop, because it's my first day in Japan. I see a ramen store. The noodles, I mean, am I just gonna walk by it? Am I crazy? So I do that, I spend 1,000 yen, it's about $10, and the train ride to the station is about 200, which is fine, it's not expensive, but I didn't exchange money because I had a few opportunities like at the counter at the airport, but I think, oh, airport rates, right? I'm gonna get to the city center, it's a lot cheaper there. But it's dinner time when I have the ramen, so I get to the city center, banks are closed, and I'm actually running out of yen. It's okay though, I have the address to the school where I registered to stay at this guest house. I have that address on my phone, and I tell the taxi after I lug this big heavy box into the cab, "Hey, can you take me over here?" And he says, "Okay," it costs another 1,000 yen, and I realize, oh, I don't even have that. And he says, "Okay, I'm not gonna take you." So I go to the ATM, and this part I don't even have figured out, but when I tried my ATM card, it didn't work. I don't know why. So banks are closed, what am I gonna do? Like, okay, out of money. I have American money, but that doesn't do me any good. So I think, okay, I'm gonna walk to that address. I look at it, it's only a kilometer away, sure. That's too far for this big heavy box, which is now pretty much representing the burden that I'm carrying here. It's a metaphor. So I think, okay, there's this locker room here. I'm gonna stick in a locker. No, you need coins to do that. I don't have the 600 yen. I hid it in this corner between these two rows of lockers. Just, it fit perfectly, you know, about the 22 centimeters by 62 centimeters of the baggage allowance. And when you're, say, like 10 feet away from it, you can't really even see it. It's kind of hidden. You have to be right up to it just to see it. So I think, okay, I'll leave it here for an hour. I'll go scope this place out, come back, sure. I go to that address, walking that kilometer is no problem. It's just that when I get there, I realize, oh, this wasn't the guest house address. This is actually the school's address, and I didn't have a guest house address. So, okay, the school's closed because it's nighttime. And so there I'm out of money, I'm out of time, the sun's set, it's nighttime, and everything that I own with me in Japan is a kilometer away in a train station, just sitting there unattended. And I'm exhausted, I'm like, oh, what do I do? So I go downstairs, there's this, there are these French kids, like 18 years old, and they speak far better Japanese than I do to help me through this situation. They're staying overnight in this manga, you know, Japanese magazine shop where people actually stay there overnight often with, you pay the overnight rate. And it's like a bunch of cubicles. It's not like a coffee shop here. Cubicles with curtains and everything. So they helped me out, explain to the guy, hey, this guy's kind of lost and he needs computer access to find this address he's going to. They say sure. And I slip in, find out that real address is actually a few more miles away, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to sleep in here, hope nobody notices, and fortunately that's what kind of worked out for me. So I wake up the next morning, I sneak out of the place, and that guy, I didn't see that guy, he didn't bother me. I go to the train station, my box, well, it's just still there. Nobody rummaged through it, cut it open, or anything. And so luckily, everything worked out fine from there. It's the lesson I was trying to learn were pretty obvious lessons, like, okay, take money with you, have a plan, know where you're going, have the correct address, yeah, okay. Valuable lessons, sure. I really felt that I expressed and experienced gratitude just for all the things that I had, which I didn't have that night, like a bed to sleep in, a door to lock, and clothes to change into. All these things I didn't take for granted after that day when I really took that risk. And thank you.
Thank you, Mark. That was great. The caliber of the tellers tonight was incredible. Can we give them all another huge round of applause? Wonderful stories. So I have some really good news for you. He's not here tonight, Yusuf. Or is he here? Yusuf isn't here tonight. Yusuf has won the Book Corner certificate, 3 times in a row? A random drawing. And somehow he's won 3 times in a row, but he's not here to get the 4th one. So we're going to have a new winner tonight. And Anne is going to find a random audience member to do the draw. Yeah. We trust you, Anne, but let's... $10 goes a long way at the Book Corner, by the way, if you get a lot of books.
All right. Should I
Announce
announce it?
it.
The winner is Mark.
Mark wins. All right. Mark, actually, oh wait, Anne's got it, good. I didn't know where I'd left it. Well, yeah, I lost it. Oh, I've lost a lot of things. Too bad there's no time for my lost and found stories. So, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate all the audience members who come, who don't tell, but come to listen to the stories. That really means a great deal to all of us and the tellers. We're really building something here. We're going to keep building it. This thing's not going away, so keep coming. We do have a survey out there, which you're welcome to fill out. You don't have to fill it out if you don't want to. Mostly, we're just looking for your emails if you want to get on the email list to be notified of when the next slam is. But if you have any suggestions or ideas for topics, let us know. Thanks so much for coming, and have a good night. One other quick thing, we did take some pictures of the tellers. If you have a moment, we have some photo releases, which would be great if you can come up and sign, so we can potentially use you on the library website. Thanks.